April 1st, 2023, and this video is called Japocalypse. Now, this is no April Fool's joke. This is like about as serious as you can get. It might even be worse than what happened on 3/11. Now, Stephen King couldn't even write something more scarier than what could happen. And the whole of Japan should actually be scratching their heads thinking, where is the international community to get something done like quick, because something really bad could happen sooner than later. Now, I'm calling it the Japocalypse because it's a Japanese apocalypse, an event involving destruction or damage on an awesome or catastrophic scale. This is like this could be like the worst industrial accident ever with the amount of lives. Now, like the pro nukes are saying, oh, not one person has died at Fukushima, and I'll say that they're wrong on that. But if this happens, this worst case scenario with this Unit 1 reactor, we might be seeing people dropping like right in front of our eyes. I mean, just this is some scary stuff. Now, the nuclear reactor, it has this reactor pressure vessel that's holding all this radioactive stuff. Now, this definitely melted down, and they're saying that it went through the pressure vessel and it's laying down underneath it. The problem is that the concrete support foundation for the reactor, whose core melted down at Fukushima #1 nuclear power plant, has deteriorated so much that the reinforcing bars are now exposed. Now, these are the reinforcing bars in here that holds the concrete, that holds this whole structure. This structure weighs like 440 tons, so it's a very heavy structure. Now, what they're worried about is if you have an earthquake, it's just going to shake this thing down, and all this, I think they're pumping water into this to keep it cooled. Now, if this structure is deteriorated where the water cannot cool this stuff, you're going to have a ton of radiation that's just going to fly out of this thing. See, it says the concrete melted away. It's just reinforcing rebar is all that's holding this structure up. This is just nuts. Now, they're worried that the collapse of the reactor pressure vessel could be much worse a disaster than 3/11. This is just nutso. The international wisdom and help are seriously wanted. Please. Like, where is the international community? This is nuts. Now, this is a great way to describe the reactor. Because they're pumping the water into it, it's turning it into a water coffin. That's what holds the water to require it to block the deadly radiation. The water is what's shielding the radiation. Without that water, the radiation will be released. Now, this report on the investigation, the corium is after the rods melt. That's what corium is. Daiichi Unit #1. It's saying that the results showed that the estimated core materials inventory at the reactor scram before the core meltdown was 123 tons. After the formation of the corium melt, there's 140 tons of nuclear melted fuel at the bottom of this thing. Now, this is the rebar right here. Now, it's crazy. It took them 12 years. It says TEPCO has released new images taken using an underwater robot during the investigation. It's the first time that damage was confirmed inside the base of the reactor. It took them 12 years to get this far. Now, what are the symptoms of radiation poisoning? Loss of appetite, fatigue, fever, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, possibly seizures, and comas. This seriously ill stage may last from a few hours up to several months. skin damage also. People are going to die is what's going to happen. Now this is the Japan earthquakes since 2011. There's been over 7,500 earthquakes. And obviously a lot of them are on the fault lines, but look at how many. Here's Fukushima right in this area. This is all of the earthquakes. So it's just a matter of time, depending on where it is and how powerful the earthquake is, that this thing is going to shake and rattle and roll these reactor buildings. I find it like, look at this area. Most of them are at sea, but this whole cluster here, they're actually happening on land. And here's Fukushima. Now, this is just a bad game. I don't even want to call it Russian roulette. But look at how close these earthquakes are to the buildings right there. Now, the robot's images recorded the inner wall of the pedestal showed bars, bare bars. The rebar is all that holds the concrete together. The concrete was melted away from the heat from that meltdown. Part of the pedestal and a large amount of nuclear fuel debris is under the pressure vessel. 90% believed to have fallen from the pressure vessel. The reactor contains 279 tons of melted fuel debris. That is like 279 times 2,000 pounds in a ton. This is a ton of fuel here. Actually, this is the melted fuel right here. And so far, they've only been able to get out 1 gram of it. And they got to chip away at this stuff to remove it. But this is all underwater and next to radiation levels that they can't get to humanly possible. Here's the rebar right here. It's just bare. The rebar is just what holds the concrete together. The concrete is what's holding the building together. The pressure vessel. That's this right here. Here's the reactor pressure vessel, which held the rods. This all melted through, and it's all under here, and that's why all this concrete is gone. The inner wall of the pedestal showed bare bars and the lower part of the pedestal and a large amount of nuclear fuel debris under the pressure vessel. The International Research Institute for Nuclear Decommissioning estimates number 1 reactor building contains 279 tons of melted fuel debris. This is just mind-blowing. That's why this is going to become a Japocalypse. Now it says TEPCO still faces a difficult challenge of how to remove the fuel debris and how to protect the damaged pedestal from future earthquakes. They're pondering how they could do this. Now the meltdown on number 1, they said, is believed to be worse than 2 and 3. The method for cutting up such chunks will depend on the ratio and the hardness of the metal mixed in with the melted fuel. It says the fuel debris cannot be taken out unless it is broken down into small pieces, but the information on objects within the fuel debris is limited so far, so it's unknown. To put it briefly, it's unknown. This is just like they have no idea what they're going up against. Now this is the video of the robot that went to look at the pedestal. Now this is all underwater. Now here's the pedestal right here. Here's the rebar. Look at this. And this looks like this may be the fuel in there. There's the top, front, and the bottom underwater front camera. Look at this. Now, like, how do you fix this? This is almost impossible to fix. Because how do you mix concrete underwater? This is a perfect picture right here. How do you fix this with it being underwater? Now, how someone cannot think that this is the largest industrial accident in the world is beyond me. Because this is. So where's the international community? I bet that this is going to fall and only God knows what's going to happen here. Look at this. It's all eaten away. Now, this is something. Can we really trust TEPCO? I just came across this. So this makes no sense to me, but it could be just my mistake. If you look at this article, as of March 31st, 2023, TEPCO visually confirms melted fuel at Fukushima plant. Okay. But if you look at it, talks about a robotics study provided the first visual confirmation that melted fuel broke through the pressure vessel. Now it states here, images taken by the robot under the #1 reactor at the plant also confirmed heavy damage to the concrete pedestal under the pressure vessel. High temperature fuel debris apparently melted the concrete of the pedestal, leaving the reinforcing bars exposed. The robot's recorded images from the inner wall of the pedestal showed bare bars in the lower part of the pedestal. Quote, it was big progress that we could clearly see inside, according to this guy who heads the cleanup project as chief of TEPCO's decommissioning unit, said at the news conference on March 3rd. We hope to thoroughly analyze the collected information. Well, they knew that a year earlier. It says the inspection by the robot started on March 29th, which I'm thinking March 29th here in this picture is 2023. But if you look at this robotic camera that actually went down here, they're showing the timestamp on it is actually February 9th, 2022. So this is kind of weird. I wanted to show you this too. Check out these pictures right in here. You could see the radiation hitting the cameras. See these little flecks on the screen there? And then you'll see it again over here. Watch this. That was a heavy dose. And this is the investigation from February 9th. It clearly states here, this is off the TEPCO website. So they definitely knew about it, but I don't know, maybe they just didn't want to tell anybody about it last year. This makes no sense whatsoever if it took them a year, unless they did another round of it. But they definitely, this is a mistake on somebody's part, because they're talking about the robot starting on March 29th in 2023, and they're talking about it's the first visual confirmation that the melted fuel. So this makes, now who do you trust? I don't trust TEPCO. It's like they're the, it's like that saying, the wolf that's guarding the hen house.